we present My Word. A panel game devised by Tony Schrein and Edward J. Mason. And here to introduce the teams is John Julius Norwich.
Hello, everybody. Our teams are Dilys Powell, Frank Muir, Anne Scott James, and Denis Norden. And so we go straight into the first round, which probes the vocabularies of the two teams. Now then, for 2 marks, Frank, what do you think is the meaning of the following word? It's a noun, not an adjective, and it is sparable. S-P-A-R-A-B-L-E.
Has there any connections with the noble art of self-defence with boxing? Because it could be a chap who isn't fightable, but could be a sparring partner.
It's a nice idea, but it's a noun. I think I'm going to have to tell you this one. A sparable is a small, wedge-shaped, headless nail used by shoemakers and cobblers to affix the soles and the heels of footwear. You're treading on hundreds at this very, very moment. Anne, your word is Barbola. B-A-R-B-O-L-A.
I seem to remember that when I was in my kindergarten, we used to make amazingly useless handicraft objects of a sort of clay-like material in very unattractive patterns. A sort of waxy thing equal to gesso. Is that not right? The same sort of thing?
What like material did you say?
Rather like plasticine, but harder.
And
clay
can
wax.
you tell me what sort of decoration this was?
Flowers.
Flowers. I think, by saying flowers, I think you've got it. Barbola is, in fact, the embellishment of small articles by the attachment of paste or plastic flowers or other such decorative motifs. Well done. 2 marks for Anne. Denis, can you tell me, please, the meaning of the word catenary? C-A-T-E-N-A-R-Y.
Is it one of those cubes of perspex with a dried seahorse inside?
I do think you ought to get a mark for that. Alas, it's not, and you don't.
No. If it had been, I think I would have been as surprised as you would have been.
There certainly ought to be a word for it.
Catenary. Is it a cat that has fallen into machinery? Is it the result of a liaison between a cat and a canary?
No, catenary, I have to tell you, is an adjective defining the curve formed by a uniform chain that hangs between 2 fixed points. Do you remember that rhyme? No twine, however fine, pulled by a weight, however great, will make a horizontal line that shall be absolutely straight.
No.
In other words, that's why telephone wires,
was it a big hit?
telegraph wires, and wires between pylons always sag. However hard you pull them, they've got some weight, so they always sag in the middle, and the line they make when they sag is a catenary. Dilys, can you tell me, please, the meaning of the word eclectic?
Eclectic. Choosing, concerned with very careful choice, as in elections.
You would talk of an eclectic election, would you?
No. I should talk of an eclectic vote.
I think eclectic means having wide interests, a wide choice.
I thought it meant a careful choice. No, it means a choice, anyhow.
I think I'll give you 1 mark for that. What it really means, I think, is something originally it was a word about to do with philosophy. It meant where you drew a philosophy from lots of different doctrines. It really means drawing the best or the most desirable from lots of different things and forming your own idea, your own philosophy, whatever it might be, from that. An eclectic religion who might take a little bit of Buddhism, a little bit of Hinduism, a little bit of Christianity, and so on. That's, I think, really what it means. But 1 mark. Well, now, before we go into round 2, Frank and Denis, here are the quotations that you were given for the last round. Yours, Frank, is, maybe it's because I'm a Londoner. And Denis, yours is, thanks for the memory. two well-known songs, so get thinking. And now we have a round of origins and derivations. For 2 marks, how did the following words or phrases originate, or from what did they derive? Frank, a 9 days wonder.
Will Kemp, actor, dancer, comic actor and dancer at the time of Shakespeare, who he did a kind of sponsored Morris dance from London to Norwich, which took, in fact, 21 days. And he wrote a book about it called Will Kemp, His 9 Days Wonder in Dance from London to Norwich. And in fact, he danced for 9 days, Morris dance or jigged along. And that gave rise to the phrase, a 9 days wonder.
Brilliant. There is, in fact, an alternative derivation, which is an old saw that a wonder lasts 9 days and then the puppy's eyes are open. But I think the Will Kemp one is the right one, and for it you certainly receive your 2 marks. Well done. Anne, abominable. Can you tell me what that word comes from?
Well, I suppose there's no B in the middle. It can't be anything to do with bombing. The abomination of desolation, does it come from? No.
Yes, there's a sort of a link.
Something to do with threatening, isn't it? It must be.
That I would
You don't think
not.
so? The minimal part?
I think I'll give you a tiny little hint.
Yes.
There could be said, etymologically, to be 1 letter missing. In fact, the 3rd letter is missing. If you put in a letter in the 3rd place, you might perhaps...
No, abominable.
Yeah, start from the top.
Abomination.
Abdominable.
Abdominable.
That's what it is. It really hits you in the gut. Abdominable is much better than abominable.
Infinitely, but unfortunately not correct.
Oh.
No, I think I'm going to have to give it to you again.
Yeah, I think so.
It derives in a contracted form from the Latin ab homine, meaning away from man. Abominable, it used to be until Shakespeare's time, and therefore it's something that man is revolted by, and or something that keeps away from man, just like the abominable snowman does, who man can never get near. Denis, as sure as eggs is eggs.
I thought that was the kind of wild poetry of vulgar speech. In other words, it was simply an apt simile. But I should think that eggs are a very old sort of symbol of life, aren't they? And so nothing is more than an egg. And so people who believe in theories of existence are known as existentialists.
Talking about these questions, the answer is so much better than the real one. In fact, eggs is eggs. It's said to derive in corrupted form from X is X. It's one of the basic formulae of the science of logic and algebra. I mean, if X isn't X, then the whole of mathematics falls to the ground.
I spent the whole of my childhood looking for X. So what is X? And every day it was something else.
But okay, if X...
It wasn't a constant.
If X is X, Y is Y.
Dilys, can you tell me the origin of the phrase, a purple patch?
Purple patch. Well, it means a very high-flown passage of writing. And now, what could it possibly come from? From an actor wearing purple and declaiming. Purple came from Tyre or Sidon or somewhere.
But that's not
Nothing
it
to do
either.
with it. Yes?
No, when you talk about the wearing of purple, I think I'll give you one mark for that. No, it actually comes out of Horace, the Latin poet Horace, in his De Arte Poetica, which when freely translated means of the poetic art, I would imagine, in which he wrote, and I translate, often to weighty enterprises and great objects, 1 or 2 purple patches are sewn on to make a fine display.
Oh, very good.
Anyway, 1 mark.
Yes,
well done. And now to a round upon the topic of onygophagism, which is a deplorable practice of which Adam and Eve may well have been the first practitioners. 2 marks to any member of either team who gets closest to the truth in answering the following simple question: what is an onychophagist? I'll spell it for you, since you keep on trying to write these things. Onygophagist.
Sir.
Yeah.
Phagist is eater of. Onygo Granny Smith.
Apple eater.
Oh, I know, I've got it.
I know.
Somebody who bites their nails, I think it must be.
Dilys knew it.
Mark. And Dilys knew it too. I'm terribly sorry. I do think Anne got in first.
Yeah.
I do think she did, you know. 2 marks to Anne and 1 mark to Dilys for onygophagism. Now, a round of misquotations. For 2 marks, what single word, Frank, has been misquoted in the following? Our birth is but a sleep and a beginning, the soul that rises with us, our life star hath had elsewhere its setting. Wordsworth.
I can tell you for a fact that I have never misquoted this line.
What's it say?
Because I've never quoted it. So therefore I am safe.
What's it? Our soul is what?
Our soul is what? Dilys would like to know.
You'd like the soul that rises with us, our life star, hath had elsewhere its setting. Those were the second 2 lines. The first line was, our birth is but a sleep and a beginning.
Forgetting.
Forgetting.
Yes.
It doesn't rhyme. Doesn't rhyme,
Forget-
sir. Sir, it doesn't rhyme.
Exactly. How right you are. Dilys has got it. Our birth is but a sleep and a forgetting. Anne. Full many a flower is born to blush unseen and waste its fragrance on the desert air.
Oh, that's a bit easier, I think. It's sweetness, isn't it?
It is indeed its
Not
sweetness,
fragrance.
not fragrance, and the poet is...
Oh, of course.
L-E-G.
It's Gray. I'm always getting Gray. I'm going to spend between now and next time we meet learning Gray's elegy by heart.
Quite right. Gray. For many a flower is born to blush unseen and waste its sweetness on the desert air. Denis. Under the spreading chestnut tree, the village smithy stands. The smith, a mighty man is he, with large and brawny hands.
You make everything sound like an obituary. The village smith... I don't know this at all, actually. Is it the village blacksmith stand?
I think it's the large and brawny bit that's
Brawny,
wrong.
yes. Brawny didn't sound right. It sounded modern, didn't it? With large and well manicured.
Horny.
Horny sounds right for then, but wrong for now. It's the reverse.
Is it brawny that's wrong?
It is brawny that's wrong.
Sweaty.
Other team?
Nasty.
Nasty.
Any hope?
Smelly.
Large and...
Horsey.
I think we'd better stop this one rather quickly. In fact, it's sinewy. It's rather a difficult one because it's 3 syllables when you'd expect
Yes, you would.
Filthy prosody,
large
if
and
I might
sinewy
say so.
hands. A neat little dactyl in the last foot but one. And you know who wrote it?
Yes, Southey, wasn't it?
No, Longfellow, wasn't it?
Longfellow is right.
Oh.
1 mark out of 2. Dilys. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the bows and arrows of outrageous fortune.
Slings. Slings and arrows.
Slings is right. Bet you don't know the author.
No, never heard of him, no.
A much underrated playwright.
Yes. He's never performed now, of course. Naturally.
Anyway, 2 marks to you, and so now we come to the last round and to Frank and Denis's quotations. Marks, as usual, will be awarded on the length of the applause from the audience here in the theatre. Frank, your quotation is, maybe it's because I'm a Londoner.
Lovely song. Hubert Gregg, lovely song. I was been doing a sort of book promotion tours, whizzing around the country, and there are lots of us at it, you know, and the country at the moment is absolutely full of authors banging into each other and like ants and climbing over each other and crashing into each other at signing sessions, at local radio stations and interviews and things. And the last few weeks I'd been banging into this American author called Halstead P. Yeats, who's written a book. It's one of those things like one of those semi-quasi-medical things like biting your fingernails can be the answer to your sex problems. He's a huge seller. I met him the first 3 weeks ago in a white, immaculate white suit and beautiful clean shirt. And you do a town a day on these tours. And as the tour progressed, I'd meet Halstead P. Yeats again, and his suit was less than white. And it was getting the kind of surface patina of a used face tissue. And Halstead P. White's shirts were not what they were. And towards the end, the man was an absolute ruin. I, on the other hand, no. You see, being a British author, we are used to looking after ourselves. We're used to adapting to circumstances. The trouble is, you see, that when you're on these tours one place a day, you have no time to get your clothes pressed or indeed to get them laundered because you're away. So I've evolved this routine of one-night tours. The first thing is to buy a portable iron, a traveller's iron. This is a bit of a thing, not at all unlike, you know, the segments of processed cheese. Well, it's like one of those in sort of heavy chromium with a tiny little handle. And when you get to the bedroom at night, you get to the new hotel about 8 o'clock at night, and you first thing you do is get the creases out of your suit. Now, there aren't many creases. There are 3 inside the elbow of each arm, and there are 4 behind the kneecaps of each leg. And there's a rather complicated lot across the pelvis, which after a day's sitting comes out gnarled like an old tree trunk. And you urge out these creases by crouching down on the floor and plugging in your 18 inches of flex with your tiny little iron between finger and thumb. You just get those creases out, and then your suit's okay. Now, laundry, there's no problem. You get into the hotel bedroom, strip off, except for your socks. You must leave your socks on, because it is not possible to wash socks with the hands. There's something about the shape of a sock and the human hand, but they just sort of roll around. So leave your socks on, but strip everything else off. Now, don't attempt to use the wash basin, because the wash basins in hotels work on the lever principle. You push a thing, and the plug shoots up about a quarter of an inch. And you pull it, and it goes, but it does not seat properly. And if you attempt to wash, you put your shirt in, and you put the detergent in, and you start pounding away, and all the suds have gone before the brown bit round the collar's been attached. So what you do is you use the fiberglass wastepaper basket, which is in every hotel bedroom or in the bathroom. Hold that under the shower, put in hot water, put your shirt and your knickers and your hankies in, you see, pour in the detergent and sort of pummel away a bit until it goes comfortingly grey, and obviously something's happening. So then you climb into the shower and have your shower, soaping your feet carefully at one and the same time washing your socks. When you finished your shower, wring the socks out and loop them over the chromium rail running around the shower. Then attack your laundry. You pour out the grey water, replace it with some fresh water from the shower rose, pummel away, pour out, replace, pummel away, until it's sort of fairly transparent, you know, till you can sort of vaguely see the bottom of the bin. They are then done. You then wring them out, stretch them, and hang them over the rest of the chromium towel rail. So when the other day Halstead P. Yeats crumpled and like an old wrinkled apple, said to me, "Muir, how do you stay so fresh and pristine? How do you look so neat?" I just said to him, "Maybe, Yeats, because I'm a launderer."
And now, Denis, it's your turn with Thanks for the memory.
Well, in his usual self-effacing way, the one thing that Frank didn't tell you in that story was what the book was that he's been touting around the country. It's actually a children's book. It's all about a lovable Afghan puppy called What a Mess. And when... Yes. People write books about things like that today. And when I was listening to him talking about it on one of those local radio interviews that he mentioned, one of the things I heard him say was, I wrote the book because I have such pleasant memories of telling bedtime stories to my own children. Now, Frank has many admirable qualities, which I would be the very first to deny. But on that point, I really do believe that his memory is somehow playing him false. I say that because his children are roughly the same age and make as mine, and from what I recall of telling my two bedtime stories, there is nothing that could induce me to recreate that experience. You see, one of the things I think Frank has expunged from his mind is that practically from the moment our kids were born, they were intimately bound up with the world of script writing. Consequently, whenever you sat in their darkened nursery telling them how to go to sleep by giving them an episode of The Little Red Engine or a day in the life of Barbola the elephant, just as you were tiptoeing out of the room, you were likely to hear a drowsy voice from one of the beds say, "Daddy," "Yes, dear," "tomorrow night, could you put more emphasis on character development and less on plot mechanism?" You see, or as happened to me another time, as I was helping my small son into his tiny sleeping suit, he said, "Daddy, you won't be angry if I ask you something?" And I said, "Of course not. Of course. What is it?" He said, "Well, speaking on behalf of my sister and myself, if you're going to do one of the Magic Kingdom stories tonight, we'd rather you did the fairy princess in your normal voice." Now, that professional kind of response isn't the only thing that seems to have slipped Frank's memory of that period. The other aspect he appears to have completely forgotten is that we weren't dealing with wide-eyed little Victorian innocents. Those kids were part of the television era. Instead of having them laying there in enchanted wonderment of what you were saying, I kept getting questions like, why didn't King Arthur call for air support? or one of them would say, when the cow jumped over the moon, what propulsion system did she use to get out of the Earth's gravitational pull? Now, it's those questions that linger in my mind, particularly the ones when I was trying to lull them off with one of the classic children's tales. "Daddy, why didn't Goldilocks get busted for breaking and entering?" or in the Cinderella story, when the fairy godmother magicked up Cinderella's coach, did she use an organically grown pumpkin? I can't tell you the problems that I had with Cinderella. "Daddy, if everything Cinderella had changed back at midnight, why didn't the glass slipper?" Do you know, I still haven't worked that one out to this day. You see, what's obviously slipped Frank's mind is how knowing those kids were at the age of 4. "Daddy, tell us the one where the wolf spots Red Riding Hood on her way to Granny, so he runs ahead and gets into drag. or even worse, the story that called for the most desperate improvising on my part. Dad, you know that frog that turned into the handsome prince? Well, wouldn't that have upset the whole ecological balance? There and then, while those 4 little eyes stared at me accusingly, I had to ad-lib a whole new ending to the story. After the prince had been married 3 months, he turned himself back into a frog because he so much missed eating flies. I tell you, it may have sent them drifting off into contented sleep, but at 4 a.m., I was still awake with emotional exhaustion. Now, I'm not complaining, you understand. I just thought it proper that all the little ones who'll be giggling themselves into slumber tonight at the adventures of What a Mess, I thought it right they should know what actually prompted its creation. Frank's faulty memory.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, according to your applause, Frank wins the story this week, and he and Dilys are the overall winners. And so now it's goodbye from Dilys Powell, Anne Scott James, Frank Muir, and Denis Norden.
In my word, the chairman was John Julius Norwich. The questions were compiled by Peter Moore, and the programme was produced by Denis Norden.